Okay, guys, listen up. Okay, this section is 9.5, and it's solving quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula. Now, quadratic equations, you know, have a variable x raised to the second power. Okay, and if we want to solve a quadratic equation, we got to make sure that everything is on one side and 0 is on the other. Okay, and then once we do that, and you're going to see right here that this one is already in that form. Ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, a, b, and c. Now, to find out what x can equal, we're going to use something called the quadratic formula. Now, guys, we haven't discussed what we need to show you where this formula comes from. It's using a technique called completing the square. And we will do that before the year is over, but we haven't done it yet. But by using that technique, we can come up with this equation, or I should say formula. And that formula is x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And guys, I write that every time I do one of these problems so that I remember it. And you need to remember it. You have to have it memorized. Okay? Now, if I want to find out what x can be for this formula, I need to write down, well, what each value is. A is equal to 2, b is equal to negative 3, and c is equal to negative 2. All right? Now, this thing's going to take a little room, so I'm going to have to move back and forth. After I know what a, b, and c equal, then what I do is I write the quadratic formula again, but with placeholders, like this. Plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then I plug in the values for a, b, and c. So b is negative 3, a is 2, c is negative 2, and a is 2. And then I just simplify. And you can see this is two problems because it says plus or minus, right? And because it says plus or minus, I know that there are two possibilities. Now, if the stuff underneath the square root turned out to be a 0, then it would only be one solution, right? Because I can't, if I add 0 or minus 0, it's still the same value. And if the stuff underneath the square root turned out to be negative, then that means there would be no solution, no real solution, because I can't take the square root of a negative number. Okay? Now, let me try and simplify this thing. I'm going to get 3 plus or minus the square root of 9. Oh, I don't need those parentheses. Let's see. Plus or minus the square root of 9. And then I look at the number of negatives behind that b, and I see that there are two. One here and one there. So I know that once I multiply all that stuff, it's going to turn positive. 9 plus 16. Oh, those teachers, they're so awesome. They're going to give us a perfect square. So I'm going to get 3 plus or minus the square root of 25 over 4, and I have to write that twice. 3 plus 5 over 4, and 3 minus 5 over 4. So then my answer is going to be 8 over 4 and negative 2 over 4, and then I've got to simplify, guys. So my x can equal 2 or negative 1/2. Either one of those numbers, when plugged into this equation, is going to give me 0 equals 0 in a true statement. So there are two solutions to this kind of quadratic. Okay? And I think that's it. Okay, guys, let's look at example number 1.